Name is George Thompson. My age is 83.
George, please tell me what it was like at you as a child growing up in Deerfield.
Oh, growing up in Deerfield, well, I had a pretty good life in Deerfield. At the time I was coming up, things was a little different from Charlie, but not that much different. You know, the prejudice and all that stuff was remain, but in my era with the kids that I was with, things was a little different. We had a little more fun, a little more activities to do. And so that was my upbringing there.
Tell me about the activities.
Well, we played baseball, softball. At school, we had gloves where they had to make their gloves. We had bats and balls that the school supplied. And so that was a lot of fun playing the different. We didn't play too many different schools, but we played some. And we were pretty good at it. So we won most of our games. And of course, that was fun. Anytime you win, that's fun.
What else
Yeah.
did you do for entertainment outside of school?
Well, we went swimming, and uh, we had bicycles at that time. Two of us would be on a bicycle, one on the handlebars, and the other one pedaling. And we go out to the beach, and we couldn't really swim at the beach at that time. When we went to the beach, it was just probably trying to get something to do, mow somebody's lawn or something like that. And and we had, you know, there were coconuts and things like that, like Coconut Grove. We'll get into that and bust open some coconuts and drink the juice and eat the jelly out of it. And it was kind of fun. And that was about the growing up.
Did you ever go out on your dad's farm and pick beans?
I went on his farm once to pick beans. I didn't go to his farm, but that one time I picked beans.
And you went to Braithwaite?
Yes, yes, yes.
Say it this way. Tell me about going to Braithwaite, what you liked about it, what you disliked about it, what the teachers were like. Just tell me anything you can remember about the school.
Well, the teachers were great. We had good teachers. They was demanding, and you had to do what you had to do, and they would whip you if you didn't do what you was told to do, and they would whip you with a pelmet rod. Not like today, they go into jail if they whip somebody kid, but back at that time, they would send a kid out to cut the rods and trim the stickers off the side, and that's what they would whip you with. And you didn't dare go home and tell it, because if you did, you would get another whipping.
What kind of things did they whip you for?
Well, just for if you didn't get your work, you know. Well, you didn't dare talk back at that time. There wasn't no talking back to no adult, really. Kids had too much respect for that at that time. They was raised in a way that you didn't talk back, you know. Because in this town, any adult could whip you. If they caught you doing something wrong, they would whip you, and your parents wouldn't come to beat them up or nothing like that, because they know they wouldn't do it if they didn't have to do it. And so that was a way of life in Deerfield.
What was the relationship with the boys and the girls when you were growing up?
Well, we had little girlfriends, boyfriends, like any other town or state. That's the way it was. Everybody, you had a little girlfriend, a little boyfriend, and that was just a natural thing.
Do you remember any tragedies or disasters that were happened while you were living here?
Hmm. Uh, yeah, not that much. Didn't too much happen in that way, but it was a time. One night, I remember this boy. He was a teenager, but he not stole, but he took his father's truck, and they went to Pompano to the movie, and coming back, he hit this bump, and the boy was sitting on the back. They call it on the tailgate. But that when you're picking beans, you sit on the tailgate. They put a rope around the tailgate, around you, to keep you from falling or anything like that. But they didn't do that. And he hit this bump, and the boy went up and came down on his face on the ground, and that was a tragedy, I think.
Did he die?
Yes, yes. And they were little young guys at the time.
How old were they?
He was about 11, 12, something like that.
And they were driving?
Yeah. Well, the other one was older than that. He might have been about 14, 15. Mm-hmm.
How many children were there in your family?
Well, 16.
Where did you fall in that group?
I was about the sixth one from the top.
And where was Charlie?
Charlie was the second. Yeah.
How many are still alive?
Well, I have to count because a lot of them are gone now. There's Charlie, there's me, Willie, Millie, Brenda. How many is that? That's five. There's only five of us, I think.
So how did that work with so many children?
No, we wasn't all in the same household. My father was the father of 16. You know.
Did they all live in Deerfield?
Yes.
Okay.
All but I'm sorry. All but two.
Okay. Tell me about any experiences that you would want your legacy to know about your time in Deerfield. You can also tell me then also when you left Deerfield and what age you did and what you did after that.
Well, I left Deerfield at a young age. I left Deerfield when I went to New York when I was 14, and I visited New York, and I fell in love with New York, and my greatest experience was in New York. But in Deerfield, as a youngster, I don't know. I kind of loved the people, and I loved the people, but it was such a you had it was a dead end. You had nowhere to go. You could go so far, and that was it. You know. A lot of kids, if they finished Braithwaite, which at my time was 10th grade, you went to 10th grade, and after 10th grade, they just drop out of school and, go to work. Because it wasn't demanding to have a great education at that time, but the people with an insight, they knew you had to have it. But the average person, they didn't know that. So you get out of there, because it was a teacher. You had to be a teacher, a preacher, or undertaker. And if you didn't have one of those three, then it was like nothing for you. And so that was a downer. As you grow, you get to look around and think about what's going on. You want to get out of here. And when I went to New York, I was it was flabbergasted. I looked at these tall buildings the first day I got there, because I had never been out of Deerfield, hardly. I went to Miami a few times, and that was about it. I didn't never go to West Palm Beach. I didn't go north. And when I went to New York, I had never seen so many people in one day that I saw in a few hours. Charlie took me to the ball game. first I had never seen a professional ball team, and he took me to see the Giants and the Dodgers, and this was exciting. People all over the place. I'm looking around. And oh my God! And we come out of there. We go down 42nd Street, and that's all lit up in the movies and movie after movie. What is this? This is like heaven on earth. It was really, really glamorous and exciting, and like he said, the bright lights captivated you, and I was captivated. This is it. This is where I want to be. Yeah. And so I went from there.
What did you do in New York?
No, well, when I went in service, I got married at a very young age. I was like 20, my wife was 18, very young. So when I came out of service, that's when I got my job. And I was working at a sugar refinery, Jack Frost Sugar. The name is sweet as the job. It was sweet. I'd never experienced nothing like the way it was there. It was union. Everything was union. Everything. And when they paid you off with a Brakes truck. A Brakes truck paid you. And when you worked, you got supper money for working overtime. They didn't pay you, they didn't put that in your check. They paid you separately with that. No tax came out of that. It was just yours on the side. And I had never heard of that. I said, wow, supper money to work overtime. Yes. So, and things were so cheap, but it was the highest paid job around the city. It was Jack Frost Sugar. They paid higher than the cops and the firemen and everybody else. It was just, unbelievable.
Tell me how many years you stayed with them.
I stayed with that company for 10 years. And the reason, when Cuba became communist, when Castro, and they messed Castro around, and it became communist, that's when, because your best sugar cane came from Cuba. And all these other islands, they have not the best sugar cane, but Cuba had the best sugar cane. And when the ships come in with the sugar from Cuba, they would just jump on it and test it in the labs, and everybody loved that because it's easy to work with. And now that's another story, how they make sugar and how to go through different stages. And that's an education by itself, that you wouldn't understand it just to see and to know how it's made, And that's fabulous too.
What did you do after your 10 years?
Yeah, well, I went to New York City Bus Authority, and I worked for the Transit Authority for the rest of my time. I did transit work like 30-some years.
When did you come back to Deerfield?
I came back to Deerfield in '04. So I was away from Deerfield like 55 years.
What kind of changes?
Well, that was another thing. When I came back, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, the growth, and it was just fabulous. I said, wow, this is South Florida, this is my hometown. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Everything built up and the population grew. Because when I was a kid, we must have had about 5,000 to 10,000 people in the town, And then to look at it now, what it grown to be and became, it was just mind-boggling. I said, wow. It's sort of like an oasis. All these places, when the people come down thinking that's what it was, they was all bushes and farms and stuff,
How do you feel now about Deerfield?
Well, I don't live in Deerfield, but I love it. I think it's great. They're doing a lot of things. They really gotten into politics, this was unknown of when I was a kid, about politics. Well, they didn't know nothing about no politics. This came much, much later. But everybody is into it now, and everything has grown. People get along much better. You could go anywhere you want to go, and enter any place, eat anywhere. People are much civilized, I think, than they was back in my day.
So now you can go to the beach.
Now I can go to the beach, yes. Before, our place on the beach was we had a place down when you go out Hillsborough to the beach, down to go south, and it was like Charlie was saying, it was a high hill. Well, there wasn't many houses on the beach at that time. A lot of woods, a lot of bushes and stuff. On this high hill, you go up, and nobody would know you was in there. And you come down on the other side and into the beach, and that's where we could go and enjoy the beach. But because nobody knew we was there, if they knew we was there, they would chase us, of course. But nobody knew we was there. We did that for years and years until everything opened up with the civil rights movement in and things like that, and they made things different for us. So everybody was able to enjoy it now. And you see, what's the difference? You swimming here, I'm swimming here. Nothing takes nothing away from nothing.
Well, I want to ask you one final question.
Mm-hmm.
Having lived the long life that you have, and having grown up and going to the school like Braithwaite,
Mm-hmm.
what do you feel is the difference between the students that you were and the students of today?
Well, the students of today, I hate to say it, but they don't have no regard for anything, and no respect. The way they treat teachers, and the way they talk back, and the way they act, and it's like I do what I want to do, and nobody can't do nothing about it. And of course, their parents back them up in a lot of ways. The younger parents today, they don't seem to realize what's good. Instead of thinking when because the kids, like I heard Judge Judy say, how do you know when a teenager's lying? She said, when they open their mouth. And and I think that's what happens when the kid come home. They telling a lie, but the parents going along with it instead of questioning the kids. So when the kid tell her what the teacher did, the teacher don't like me and this and that, and she believe in this, and she want to go fight the teacher without even finding out what went down. Instead of talking with the teacher first and find out, and then call the kid in. Now when the kid get in there, that's a different story. Well, you could tell she's lying or he's lying. But no, they want to fight you before they even find out. And I don't think that's right. Well, I know it's not right. But that's one thing about the kids of today and my day. My day, you didn't talk back. Teacher told you something, that was it. Any adult told you something, that was it. But today, they argue you down. And
Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we conclude?
no, I think Charlie he's a hard act to follow. He conducted himself well, I think. But I don't know too much because I was.
You did great.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay.
make a wrap on that then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.